Hey guys, I'm Marc Ventura. Hope you're doing really well. I wanted to record this video today mainly for, I guess, those property investors out there that have one or two property investments, or those of you who really want to get started in the property investment game. Finance makes a massive part of purchasing property, and essentially when you're in the property investment game, you're actually really in the game of managing debt. Most people don't really realize that, but essentially, buying property is all a debt game. It's all about accumulating the right type of debt over time to help you control as many properties. So when it comes to a game like that, or an investment like that, we need to be always viewing our investments from a way or a viewpoint of how do we protect ourselves. Because as we know from property investment, most properties can make a loss. And as time goes on, as those properties are getting older, they can start to cost us more money. So we need to, when I'm looking at investing in property, which I do quite a fair bit, I'm always looking at how do I manage my downsides. How do I manage, whether I get out of pocket from a regular basis from shortfall in rents covering loans and expenses, and how do I also protect myself, or how do I have a structure in place that is always providing for deposits on future properties that I want to purchase. So today's really all about is showing you some tips and structures for investors around how can you get started in property investing with zero money out of your own pocket, and then how do you protect yourself going forward to make sure that you're not out of pocket, or you've got something to protect you or back you up when cash flow shortfalls eventuate in property. Because essentially they do in this environment, not so much because interest rates are so low, but over the long term it's something that can affect you. So like I said, whenever we're looking at investing, we always need to make sure that yes, we look at our upside, but importantly we need to make sure we look at our downside. Particularly some people could lose a job, business could go down, properties could be vacant. It's all about how to protect you to make sure that you can stick at it for the long term, because property really is a long-term investment and something where you're managing debt and cash flow at all times. And one of the reasons why most people can't go past initially purchasing in one investment is because the cash flow to sustain that property is generally too great when we actually have to factor in all our other living expenses, whether that's children, school fees, our own mortgages and things like that. So today I wanted to show you how can we overcome all those things? How can we get in the property market? How can we invest? How can we get rid of all those issues or headaches that potentially can affect us in moving forward and growing our wealth? Because essentially we do need multiple properties to be able to deliver us the lifestyle and the capital that we need to live the lifestyle that we want at the end of the day. So bear with me today. I really want to take you through some strategies and what I call the cash flow manager, and why I feel the cash flow manager is the most important part of a strategy for any investor. So generally, I'll take you through a scenario on the board. So, we've got someone that's, got their home, they've got, say their home's worth $800,000, they might have, $300,000 or $400,000 loan, and they've generally got a fair bit of lazy equity sitting in that property. It's just sitting there doing nothing, and that could be put to good use to help them. They've also got a couple of properties here, roughly worth about $500,000 each. Roughly 90% loans, so that 450 mark in terms of loans. They're probably getting around $380 a week in rent, or just under $20,000 in rent a year. And the rough expenses on that property are going to be probably around sort of $24,000 each. So in this scenario, from a basic perspective, just the very basic, it's costing them about $8,000 a year, which is a fair bit for most investors or families to carry whilst they're managing all their other day-to-day expenses. Now, one of the tools that I use and a lot of investors use is what I call a cash flow manager. And generally the purpose of the cash flow manager, as I touched on before, is to help cover the shortfall in those rents or that cash flow perspective, but also to help fund deposits over time as you're going through that property accumulation cycle, as I touched on. So generally what we do is, one of the things I tend to look to do is I look to access some of the equity that's sitting in the home there at the end of the day. Now let's say in this example I want to access roughly $200,000 of equity. Now we can structure a facility or a loan facility which works just like a large bank account. Money can go in that account and you can draw that money out at any time, and you only pay interest on that account, or what I call the cash flow manager, when you actually draw that money in. So essentially what happens is we can access some of this equity in this property and we can place it into what we call the cash flow manager. And what happens with the cash flow manager, let's say we've got a balance of $200,000, or it could be $100,000. What happens here is we can use this facility, or this big bank account I like to call it, to take out funds for the deposit on the property, so to cover the 10% deposit plus things like stamp duty and mortgage insurances. So we can use the money in here to fund the deposits on these properties. But importantly, what we can also do is we can use this facility's cash flow manager to help cover the shortfalls that we'll have on those properties whilst we own them in that period of time. And what that allows is, by having this facility covering that shortfall, it reduces the stress that or cash flow issues that most people will have when they're buying multiple properties, or even with one. This facility is actually taking care of those costs. So what happens is all your repayments can come out of here, your rents can go in here, so you can have the rent for those properties going in here. The repayments can come out of here. The tax credits can go in. And this facility will just protect you from your cash flow side of things at the end of the day, which means that all your available income that you have from your employment or from your business can be focused upon just reducing your actual home loan. Because we want to be able to reduce your home loan debt as quickly as possible, because your home loan debt is what we tend to consider as bad debt. It's sucking money out of your pocket every month. And we want to be able to give you a pay rise as soon as possible at the end of the day. So the best way to give yourself a pay rise is reducing your home loan as quickly as possible. And the best way to grow your wealth over time is to use good debt. Debt that's buying assets that are growing in value, what I would call appreciating assets. So it's using debt in a good way to buy good assets that are going to grow in value over time, to build your wealth and create that gain or capital gain that you need to be able to then potentially sell to reduce that debt, or potentially use the new equity to go and buy again. So I hope I've been able to provide some value in this short video. It's really about what tips and strategies can you use. It's the investor's best friend. It's highly misunderstood. So give us a call to have a chat around how we can explain the use of it and how it can benefit you in your investing activities. Have a great day.